أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم، وأحسن الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا بأبي عبد الله الحسين عليه السلام. روي عن النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم أنه قال: تحفة المؤمن الموت. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Today we reach the final lecture in our series of lectures in Imam Hussein alayhi salam's journey to Allah, in our journey to Allah, as Imam Hussein took from Medina to Karbala until the point of his martyrdom. So we have to take until the point we reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And on this note, as Imam alayhi salam, on the day of tomorrow, faced the swords and was martyred, our discussion of today will be about death and the reality of death. Many a time we misunderstand death, or rather we have a very, very poor understanding of death. If the question was to be asked to the people generally, who here would like eternal bliss, eternal happiness and blessings, there would not be a single person who would refuse this. If the question was to be asked to all of us, who from us would like to enter the gardens of paradise beneath which rivers flow, none of us here would refuse this. All of us would be wanting to go. But if it was asked to us how many of us here want to die, none of us, or very few of us, would be willing to raise our hands. Which doesn't really make sense, because we should realize that eternal bliss cannot be achieved, nor can we enter the gardens of paradise without going through the passage of death. How can we hope to enter the paradise without dying? How can we hope to be in the eternal bliss of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without going through this bridge of death? It makes no sense. It's like someone who wants to drive his Ferrari over the roads and rev that engine loudly and hear the sound that it makes, but he doesn't want to turn the ignition key. How will it be possible for him? When we talk about death, this topic of death is something which is seen as very miserable, very depressing. Nobody wants to talk about it. In our workplaces, in our schools, in our universities. Despite the fact that death is the only thing which is everyone, be he Muslim or non-Muslim, Christian or Jew, Buddhist or Hindu, atheist or agnostic, one thing that everyone has a complete certainty of is everybody is going to die. Whether they agree on what happens after death or not is a different matter. Everybody knows that their presence here is temporary and after this they are going to die. Yet nobody wants to talk about this only certainty we share between us. Nobody wants to talk about this. And I'm not speaking about non-Muslims only, within the Muslims, within the Shia. Nobody wants to touch the topic of death. Everybody feels miserable when raising this issue of death. It is because when we say death, and when we speak about death, we have a complete misunderstanding of what death is. In fact, we have no understanding of what death is in its reality. What is the reality of death? If we try to learn the lessons from the narrations of our A'imma alayhimu salam and our Holy Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, we look at their lessons and their words in order to realize a better understanding of death. So first, if we look at the most perfect human being who ever walked on this earth, none other than Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, What does he say about death? When he refers to death, how does he refer to it? When he exhorts people to this thing, he says, and it is reported from him that he says, "Mutu qabla an tamutu." Die before you die. Die before you die. How is this possible? Rasulullah says, "Mutu qabla an tamutu." Die before you die. We see Rasulullah is referring to two deaths. Die, firstly, before you die. So there are two deaths. Let us imagine death. I don't want everyone to be picturing Grim Reaper. I'm saying let's imagine death in its reality. Say we've all attended Salatul Mayd at some point in our lives, our relatives maybe, someone from our close friends maybe, anyone in the community we're reciting Salatul Mayd for. Look at this Mayd, this corpse. It doesn't eat anything. Rather, it doesn't even want to eat anything. It has no desire for food. It has no desire for drink. It has no desire to mate, and has no ability to do so. If we think about this mayyit, this dead body, essentially it is cut off completely from its desires. From its animalistic self, it is completely cut off. It can't get angry, can't approach its spouse, can't eat, can't drink. There is complete lack of connection, lack of affinity to the physical dunya. انقطعت علاقته مع الدنيا تماما. لا يمكنه أن يأكل، لا يمكنه أن يشرب، لا يمكنه أن يتقرب إلى زوجته، وهو لا يريد الآن ذلك أصلا. He is dead completely. There is no attachment, no want to go towards these things at all. This person is dead. So we think about death in this manner. Now we have a better understanding of what death might mean. If we refer to more riwayat regarding death, from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we find he compares death to something else now, gives it a very near connection to another concept. What is this concept? He sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, "An-nawm akhul maut." That sleep is the brother of death. Sleep is just like death. Very little dissimilarity between the two. An-nawm akhul maut. That sleep is the brother of death. If we look at the sleeping person, he is like a corpse, except sometimes we can see his breath coming in and out. His chest might be rising. Otherwise, he's like a corpse. He doesn't drink or eat. Neither does he have an affinity towards drinking and eating. He doesn't mate, and neither can he go towards these things while he's asleep. Again, essentially, he or she has been cut off from the physical dunya completely. Once again, انقطعت علاقته مع الدنيا تماما فهو كالميت. As if he is dead, completely cut off from this world. النوم أخو الموت. So if we have this understanding of known, if we have this better, deeper, more wider, more encompassing understanding of known, of sleep, we can better appreciate sleep being what? Being cut off from dunya, temporarily albeit. Being detached from the dunya, being detached from one's carnal, animalistic self, being detached from one's pride and ego. I can't even be proud and egocentric whilst I'm asleep. Being detached from all of these things. If we understand known to be this, we can better understand when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam spoke in his khutbah to introduce the month of Ramadan. He said, in this month, أنفاسكم فيه تسبيح ونومكم فيه عبادة. We understood it to mean what? That if I'm fasting and Maghrib time is 2 hours away, I'm starving, I can sleep for 2 hours, wake up and eat.